Hi there. I wanted to jump on today and make a video on a topic that comes up pretty regularly in my practice, which is how do we talk to kids about making healthier food choices and how do we instill in them that this is actually an important thing for them to do throughout their lifetime. The first thing I want to say on this topic is convincing anybody that dietary change is important, including adults. Okay, so like even adults struggle with this, so trying to talk to this, about this to a 6-year old or 12-year old, 15-year old, it's an uphill battle. And I think one of the most important things is just modeling and living a healthy lifestyle yourself, and eventually they see that as, this is the norm and this is what our family does. And as they get older, you can have these conversations, and it becomes a little bit easier. But there are a couple of things. So I feel like the first thing to always instill into a child when it comes to food and dietary habits and anything related to that is honestly just a sense of deep gratitude. I think we're very, very fortunate here in this part of the world. We have access to food. We have access to lots of different kinds of food, and we're pretty abundant that way here, and that's wonderful. But we must not lose sight of what a real blessing that is, and we should not take it for granted. So I think just pointing it out to them, like, wow, we're so lucky. Aren't we so grateful to have this food? The other thing, because a lot of parents struggle with guilt about like not providing 100% organic 100% of the time and all this, um, please let that go. Honestly, it's, as parents, we do our best, but I think it's also just really important to put things into perspective and recognize that, as long as you're doing the best that you can most of the time, it's going to be just fine. So please just don't feel the guilt over that. We're all human and it's not always easy, and food prices are skyrocketing. So it's okay. Just again, I come back to gratitude for whatever we're able to provide at any given time. The second thing is, I think we have a tendency to talk to kids about foods being good versus bad. I know I do this and I don't mean to. It's just, as you're like cutting things up and the kid's like, why can't I have this? You're like, because it's not good for you. Um, and I've been trying to think about why I don't love this phrasing. And I think what I've come to is that in a way, like inadvertently, it kind of sends the message to the child that there are foods that you can consume that are so bad for you that your body just won't recover. Like good and bad are such rigid and black and white terms, and that's not really how it actually is. Um, as far as I've seen in my own practice, the body can recover from literally just about anything. It's a remarkably powerful healing organism, and it's unbelievably resilient for the most part. So I think it's really important actually to reiterate to our children that your body is incredibly powerful. It's designed to heal, and it's not about good or bad. It's not about that. It's actually more of a sense of responsibility that we have for our body. And, maybe a way of framing this conversation, especially with younger children, is to say, certain foods just make your body feel more energetic. You feel like you have lots of energy to run around and play with your friends and do that art project and build that Lego set. Versus, when you eat a lot of certain foods like sugar and things like that, maybe you don't feel like you have as much energy, or maybe you don't poop every day, or, all the things that ideally we want to be able to do and participate in are not as easy. So framing it kind of in that way, and it just feels lighter somehow than to say like it's not good. This is good, this is bad. And then, yeah, back to the personal responsibility piece. I think this is a conversation that lends itself to us being able to sort of like talk more openly with our children and start to weave in and infuse some of our own religious or spiritual beliefs about what is a body? Why do we have to care for our body? Whose responsibility is it to care for the body? I'm a big fan of teaching personal responsibility to children as soon as possible, and just informing them, like right now, mom's guiding you and I can help you and teach you as much as possible. But one day you're going to have to make these choices for yourself. And you'll see through direct experience when you consume a diet that is, fast food or lots of sugar, lots of processed food, it's not going to feel great. And that's okay. You'll learn from that experience and hopefully reorient yourself throughout your life. We all go through our phases, right? Like, in a way, it's inevitable. I'm sure my daughter will be consuming lots and lots of things that I cringe at as she gets older, but that's her own journey, and I'm always here to help guide her back if needed. And I think just sort of having that looser approach as they get older is probably the more helpful way to go, because I think the more you try to control, the worse off things are. And just weaving in the spiritual of like, what is a body? What are our family's values and beliefs around having a body and taking care of a body? So, in a kind of lighter way, you can start to talk about that. It's whatever that means for you. One of the things that I try to infuse in my home is that, the Creator gives us this body, and inside of it is our soul. And one of the reasons that we have to take care of our body is it actually goes back to the earth. This isn't, it's ours to keep for this lifetime, but then it goes back. And, we want to offer to the Creator something that is as healthy and whole as it was given to us. And, more importantly, perhaps, is that, inside of our bodies, our soul lives. And again, that aspect of us is a part of the Creator expressing itself through us. And, it's important in this life to really listen to your soul and come at life from that place. You're put here for a reason. Everybody's important. Everybody has a purpose. Everybody has something that they need to share. And when we keep our body healthy and strong, those whispers from the soul can come through a lot more clearly. And, I think this is like really actually critical, especially in the world that our children are growing up in, because my God, the external world shouts so loudly. They will be pulled in every direction. They will be pulled away from themselves. And it's not great. Look at the state of the average teenager. They're not doing great. And so I think the more that we can instill in our children that, what the most important thing is listening to that voice inside of you. Maybe you might say that's the voice of God. It's the voice of your soul. It's the voice of the Creator within you. However you phrase that, or, whatever makes sense for your belief system, but just rooting them into this understanding that I'm more than the body, but the body is an integral part of being connected to that soul essence and to my purpose in this life and how I express in this world. So I think those are kind of like the main things. And as kids get older too, I think something that's kind of fun is letting them discover certain things about foods and additives, and why we're not super interested in food coloring and dyes and this and that. Let them look it up. Look up what Red 40 is. Where does it come from? What is it made out of? What kind of negative impacts could it possibly have? Do you really want to consume that? It's like, put it back on them, because this is where that personal responsibility piece comes in. I can tell you until the cows come home, but ultimately you are the one that's responsible for your body and the health of your body. People can guide you for sure, but at the end of the day, it's about what you physically put into your mouth. And of course, that comes into play when they're a bit older. When they're younger, we're the ones providing it and giving them food, and buying them everything. But as they get older, I think it's really good to kind of put the onus back on them and see where they land and what they come to. All right, I think that's all I wanted to share on this topic. I'll see you guys next time.